Why does K-pop have English in it? If it's Korean pop music, what's the point of using English in the song? What's up, friends? I'm Jonathan Miller, and welcome back to Jonathan Miller Music, where we help each other become better artists. So there are a lot of reasons why K-pop uses English beyond just trying to make the song catchy, although that is an important aspect to it. There are a wide variety of historical and economic reasons for it too that you might not really think about, especially if you're a new K-pop fan. I get this question a lot both on YouTube and TikTok, so let's start with some history. Between 1910 and 1945, Korea was under Japanese rule, undergoing annexation through World Wars I and II. Following the two atomic bombs dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the Soviet Union and the United States overran the Korean peninsula, causing Japan to surrender to the Allies, effectively ending World War II. Originally placed in a trusteeship by the Allies until Korea was deemed ready to self-rule again, U.S. Colonel Dean Rusk proposed dividing Korea along the 38th parallel as a temporary solution until the trusteeship became active. However, Korea didn't want a trusteeship, so as the Cold War occurred, while the US and the Soviet Union spent 2 years negotiating the trusteeship itself ultimately failed, which effectively nullified any potential for reunification of Korea. So Korea was then referred to the UN, who also couldn't get the Soviet Union to agree, so the UN supervised the South in its first election. Then the Southern Republic of Korea and Northern Democratic People's Republic of Korea were established, but both governments claimed sovereignty over the entire peninsula, which, as you might guess, led to some issues. In 1950, North Korea invaded the South in an attempt to reunify the peninsula under communism, which began the Korean War. This ended in a stalemate in 1953, leaving Korea still divided by the Korean Demilitarized Zone even to this day. So American presence in South Korea has been there for a long time. Furthermore, English is one of the most widely spoken languages around the world, with approximately 1.35 billion people speaking it as of 2022. That's 17% of the entire world's population. Also, historically in Korea, speaking English signified a higher social status, as the privileged really only had access to English education. So because of its status symbol, some Koreans wanted to show their connection to the United States, even performing for American troops during the Korean War as a way to earn money. So therefore, English not only became associated with education, business, and military life, but also music. Korea actually has a wide variety of minority languages spoken within it which deserve to be recognized, but obviously Korean is spoken the most throughout it. However, bilingualism, or the assimilation of another language into Korean, isn't really new or exclusive to English. During the Japanese occupation of Korea, Japanese was forced to get assimilated into Korean, which is why certain loanwords in Korean sound similar to Japanese today. For example, in Korean, 도서관 and in Japanese, 도서관 sound similar and both mean library. In 1938, Telephone Diary by Park Hyung-lim and Kim Hae-sung contained phrases in Japanese, Korean, and English, and it wasn't made to appeal to an overseas market. However, in 1997, the Asian financial crisis hit many Eastern and Southeastern countries, seeing their currencies and economies rapidly collapse, one of the hardest hit being South Korea. So it and its neighboring countries had to figure out ways to boost each other's economies, as well as their own. So, since South Korea was already accustomed to multiple languages and music, they had the idea to perform and record albums in other languages like Mandarin Chinese, for example, and eventually Japanese, courtesy of BoA in the 2000s. This not only helped other markets get people spending money again, boosting their own economies, but also helped South Korea recover too, since portions of the revenue went back to them, and it also brought an interest into culture, food, business, and the arts. And you can bring an interest into your music and art with DistroKid. DistroKid is one of the top music distributors in the game, helping millions of independent or aspiring artists get their music up on streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and Tidal. For one small yearly price, you can get as much music as you want up and ready for new fans to find quickly, as DistroKid is one of the fastest music distributors too. My special VIP link can help you save even more. But what's really special about DistroKid is not only do they help get your music out there, but they also help you promote and manage your music too, with features like their Spotify and Apple Music ID looker-uppers. Sometimes we need to find the links to our music quickly, and DistroKid makes that easy by having them all in one place. Simply choose Spotify or Apple Music, tell them which release it is that you need a link for, and it's going to give you 3 links instantly. One directly linking to your album that the song appears on, the track itself, and also a direct link to your artist page too. This eliminates eliminates a big headache of having to open Spotify or Apple Music, find your stuff, copy and paste, and go back to where you need to post it. This is so much easier. Use my special VIP link to save yourself 7% on your first year's membership with DistroKid. Link is in the description. It wasn't until the late 90s that it became popular to have English language song titles. Remember, K-pop was virtually an unknown thing in the West at this time, so it wasn't initially done just to appeal to Western markets. You see, there's another aspect to English and K-pop songs that often gets overlooked, and that's Konglish. Konglish, as funny as the name is actually a real thing. It's a portmanteau of Korean and English, and as the name suggests, it's a style of English used by Korean speakers, in which certain English words have been adopted into Korean. It's estimated that over 90% of loanwords in Korean are of English descent. For example, fighting or fighting, which comes from the English word fighting, but typically used to mean good luck or cheering somebody on. This can create some confusing grammar issues for native English speakers, even if the context makes sense in Korean, because you have to understand how Korean grammar works, which most native English speakers probably don't, with things like certain words being omitted or verbs getting conjugated at the very end of a sentence. Personally, my second language is Japanese, so when I took Korean in college, I discovered how similar Korean and Japanese grammar is, which made some awkward English lyrics in my favorite K-pop songs make a lot more sense. This is why direct translations of K-pop lyrics often look confusing or funny or messy. It's very common in a lot of Asian languages to omit certain words in casual speech, like pronouns, for example. So when phrases are naturally already cut down in the native language, on top of having naturally cut down phrases and lyrics like you would expect in a pop song, it's going to create some confusion if you're not familiar with both languages, even though in Korean grammatical casual speech, the context of the phrase might not feel as weird. English and K-pop isn't also necessarily included with the assumption that Koreans will all understand or that every English speaker is going to understand either. That's because another reason for English being included in K-pop songs is purely a musical one. Pop music is built off of simplistic ideas and catchy hooks. A hook is a musical idea, riff, lyric, or phrase that grabs the listener's attention. K-pop, especially nowadays, is a high-octane construction that thrives off of unexpected elements and these hooks to turn people's heads and keep them listening. So one element that has become a staple of the genre is select English hook phrases. This can be at the end of a lyric phrase or the entire chorus or really anything in between. Songwriters are usually pretty keen as to which phrase might grab the attention of a listener because it comes with practice. Like when I was writing the Japanese version of my song Marionette with my co-writer in Japan, we were very careful about which phrases stayed the same in English so that the Japanese translation felt very natural in another market and to Japanese listeners. This is the same for K-pop. Also, a lot of K-pop songs are written by Western native English speakers with translations and minor adjustments handled by Korean songwriters and producers, despite the misconception that K-pop songs aren't handled or written by native Koreans. There is some understandable frustration and pushback against this, but while there are some amazing Western writers for K-pop, let's not forget about the contributions made by Korean songwriters and producers like Kenzie, Teddy Park, Sumin, and the many idols who write their own stuff too. So there are many reasons culturally, historically, and musically why English is included in K-pop. K-pop groups already perform in languages like Korean, Japanese, Mandarin, Cantonese, and yes, English, and the tradition still continues to this day. K-pop is first and foremost a Korean creation with influences from around the globe, including its multilingual construction. English hook phrases make the songs catchier and attention-grabbing, but they aren't included purely for international appeal. It's done to appeal Korean youth and Korean audiences, with international appeal being a bonus. Sure, with K-pop's global expansion since the days of World War II, it means that sometimes groups and agencies will drop releases specifically to grab the ears of Western listeners, but it's not much different than what they're already doing for Eastern and Southeastern Asian audiences when you think about it too. It builds upon a long history, it's linguistically relevant, and makes the songs catchier, and that's why K-pop has so much English in it, even if it still doesn't always make perfect sense.